Hello, and welcome to a short video which will be the first in a small series of videos regarding effects for the 5th edition rule set for Fantasy Grounds. First thing we should probably do is to define what an effect is. And an effect is anything which applies a bonus or a penalty of some kind to a dice roll that a character is about to make. In order for an effect to be properly executed, the character must be on the combat tracker, and either they or another actor must make a dice roll which involves the character. The effects are checked by Fantasy Grounds whenever a character makes an attack, does damage, makes a saving throw or an ability check or a skill check. And effects are also checked when the same character is attacked, damaged, or has a saving throw, ability check or skill check forced on them, for example, from a spell. So in this video we're going to cover just the basics of how we would set up an effect, and for that we need a character. So let's open up Hamish here. Hamish is a 4th level rogue, which doesn't really matter in this instance, but we're going to set up a simple effect for Hamish just to give him some kind of bonus to his attack rolls, and we'll see the various options that we can have with regard to attack rolls and the effects that we could apply to them. Our effects are always created in the same way. From the Actions tab here, you click on the Edit List button. This makes two small blue icons appear, and we want the Add Power button. So click on that, and we get a new power appearing in the Actions tab. In the right hand editable box here, we can put a name in which is a description of the power group, and in this case we'll just put in example. And when we tab out of that, we see that powers has changed to example, and in this one we will just put in attacks as a descriptor. Neither of these have any particular function within Fantasy Grounds other than just being descriptive. So now we now want to set up our first effect, so we need to right click over that line. We get this radial menu here, and we want the down arrow which is Add Action. We click on that, and we get another radial menu with 4 options, and the one we want is to Add Effect. We won't worry about the others for the moment, but we will click on Add Effect. And this gives us a new blank line which will enable us to create our effect. The important bit here is the magnifying glass, and we click on that and we will get the effects dialog. And this is where we create our effect so that we can then apply that to the character at a later time. So as I say, we're going to work on Hamish's attacks. We're going to give him some bonuses or penalties to those attacks. So we need to have a keyword, and effects are always in the same manner. You've got a keyword, you then have a colon, and then you have some kind of dice roll or string number or some other descriptive condition or modifier. So in this case we're going to be affecting Hamish's attacks, so the keyword for that is attack, so in capital letters ATK, and then we need to put in our colon, and then after that we need to tell Fantasy Grounds what we want to do with this effect, what actual bonus or penalty is going to be applied to Hamish's attacks. So just as the simplest that we can do, we'll just put a 1 in there, and this will mean that Hamish will get a 1 to his attack rolls. We're not going to worry about the other boxes here, apart from this one down here which says targeting. This is a fairly important one. We can go through the 2 options here. We've got self and targets. It's reasonably easy to work out what that means. The targeting in this case is either self, which means the character on which this effect is going to be applied, or targets, which would be any target or targets which the character has targeted. So in this case we want the effect to apply to Hamish, so we need to set the effect to self. When we close that dialog, we see that the effect line has now got the effect in it, attack 1, and is being applied to self. And this little button here with the running man icon, this is what we use to actually apply the effect to the character. So let's see this in action, and first of all we will need to get ourselves a combat tracker. And we've got a couple of baddies on the combat tracker, and as I said earlier, for the effects to work properly, Hamish and whoever he's attacking must be on the combat tracker. So we drag Hamish onto the combat tracker, and we will just turn it to make it his turn. And we can see here that Hamish has got various attacks. And if we just take his dagger attack and attack the bad wizard here, you'll see that in the chat box it tells us that Hamish made an attack with his dagger and he got a +4 to the attack. And the +4 of course is here in the weapons section, and that's made up with his proficiency bonus and his bonus for being able to attack with these particular weapons. So in this instance he's gotten a +4. So now let's add the effect onto Hamish, and you'll see the combat tracker now has the effect line showing here with attack 1. And if we now make the same attack with the same dagger against the bad wizard, you'll see that Hamish's bonus has now gone up to +5, and the chat tells us that an effect of +1 has been added. Now that's as simple as it gets. That's a fairly straightforward effect, and Hamish will continue to get that +1 on any attacks that he makes as long as the effect is actually on him. However, we can modify this in another way, because maybe Hamish only gets this attack if he is in melee. So if we click on our little magnifying glass again, and we can edit this effect and add in a comma and then melee in lowercase, so that the effect now reads attack 1 melee. Now this should mean that Hamish only gets the +1 to his attack rolls if he makes a melee attack. So we need to remove the old effect from the combat tracker and reapply it. And you can see that it's now showing attack 1 melee. And if we make an attack with Hamish's short bow, which is obviously a ranged attack, we can see that there is no benefit to him from the effect in this instance. He's getting a +4 to his attack, which is his normal bonus. But if we now make an attack with his dagger onto the bad wizard, we will see that he gets the +1. So we have restricted Hamish's bonus in this instance to melee attacks only. We could equally change the melee to ranged, and the opposite would apply. He would get a bonus when he makes a ranged attack, and not when he makes a melee attack. If we don't put anything in there, as we saw earlier, he will get a bonus to both melee and ranged attacks, or any other attack that he makes, in fact. We can also restrict this even further. Let's suppose that Hamish only gets this. I will change this to range just to see that as well, and we'll type in opportunity here. So this means that Hamish will only get this bonus of +1 when he makes the ranged attack, and only if it's an opportunity attack. So we can test this out again. We will reduce or remove that and reapply the effect, and we will just make a normal melee attack, no +1 to that. We will just make a normal ranged attack, and again no +1 to that. So we need to tell Fantasy Grounds that this is an opportunity attack, so we can do this through the modifiers box. We click on opportunity, so this is telling Fantasy Grounds that the next attack that Hamish makes is going to be an opportunity attack, and we will make a ranged attack and you'll see that in the chat dialog here is given Hamish as +1 because it's an opportunity ranged attack. He still managed to miss, but he's got that bonus. If we click that again and then make a melee attack, we'll see that Hamish doesn't get the +1, even though it was an opportunity attack. Because it's only available at ranged opportunity attacks, he hasn't got the +1 to his attack roll. So that's an example with just a simple number. We can actually get more complicated than that, and the attack keyword will also accept dice strings. So, for example, we can type in 1d4 here. We can remove that, reapply this new effect, and we'll see now that Hamish has got an attack bonus of 1d4. And if we make an attack, we'll see that Fantasy Grounds also rolled the 1d4 and the d20 and added them up together, and we see the effects here showing 1d4. The dice string can be anything you like. I mean, it could be 1d4 plus 1, for example, and that would also apply. If we remove that, add that, and make the attack, we can see that the effect here, 1d4 plus 1, and he rolled a 3 with his d4. You can see that the +1 has been added into his normal bonus, so instead of his normal bonus of +4, he's got a +5. So that all adds up to the correct numbers. Furthermore, of course, we can make a penalty here. It may be that Hamish doesn't get a penalty bonus at all. Maybe he's going to get a -2 to his attacks for some reason or other. So again, we take the oldest one in, reapply the new one. If we make a dagger attack against the wizard, we find that there it is, the effects -2. So effects can be positive or negative, or the numbers, I should say, can be positive or negative. We can take this even further. Sometimes due to a spell or some other ability, the player may get a bonus to attack or damage or something like that, which is related to his level. Fantasy Grounds can cope with that, but we need special syntax. We need to use square brackets, and within the square brackets we need to tell Fantasy Grounds what we want to modify the attack by. And in this case it's level, so LVL. Close the square brackets, remove the effect, reapply, and you'll see that when that's applied to the combat tracker, Fantasy Grounds translates the level into the actual number. In this case, Hamish is a rogue level 4, so we can see that he's now got a bonus of attack 4. We can also, in some instances, sometimes you get half your level. And to do that, we just put an H before the level, so HLVL will give us half the level. And when we apply that effect, we see that Hamish has got an attack of 2. Sometimes also the character might get a bonus which is not the normal ability bonus. He might get, let's say, a wisdom bonus to his attack rolls. Fantasy Grounds can cover that as well. If we remove the half level from between the brackets and add in Wiz for wisdom, then remove that effect and add that in, you can see that Hamish has now got an attack of 2. And if we look at his wisdom score, it's 14, so he's got a bonus of +2. So therefore Fantasy Grounds has calculated that the attack bonus in this instance will be +2. Now, this kind of thing doesn't just work for attacks, it will also work for other keywords as well. Not every keyword will be able to take all these kind of things, but quite a number of them do. And the best place to discover that is the wiki. In the wiki, if we have a look at the wiki here, you'll see that for all the keywords, it's got a value here, and it's D or N. And if we look down here, it'll show that the D means dice and numbers supported, and N only numbers supported. So for example, in exhaustion here, only a number was supported. You can't have a random dice string in there. But if you look at charisma, for example, it will accept if you look at regen, for example, it will also accept dice strings as well as numbers, etc. So that is probably a good place to stop for this particular video. We will see you in the next one. Cheers for now.